Hey, how's it going? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, with a Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for October the 10th. And the way this video chat works is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next, 45 minutes or so, and I'll be taking questions live through the YouTube video chat. So if there's anything that you would like to discuss with regards to building muscle, losing fat, any specific challenges that you're dealing with when it comes to your workouts, bodybuilding and fitness related, anything like that, feel free to post those in the live video chat window, and I'll do my best to help you out in any way that I can. Now, while I'm waiting for some questions to come through, I had some well, first off, I should, before I even get into answering any questions or anything like that, I should ask first, is this coming through loud and clear? Can you actually hear me, see me? Is the video smooth and the audio coming through clear? Because I just want to make sure that it is working fine before I actually get into rambling on and answering questions and basically wasting my breath if this isn't coming through clear. So for those of you who are tuned in live right now, can you just give me a thumbs up and let me know that it's coming through loud and clear if it is, so that I know that we're good to go before I actually start answering your questions. All right. Okay, there's some questions coming through there now. Again, hopefully working fine. All right. Again, I always do this little check at the beginning because I've had some cases before where I've literally went into a video chat and it was going on for like maybe 20 minutes and before I even realized that nobody could hear me. I didn't have the audio hooked up. So, right, it was a waste of time. So anyway, thank you for doing that. A question that came through, I'm just going to answer this one really quick before I jump into the questions that are being posted live right now. This one was posted by a friend of mine, Stogie, and he's a member of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Inner Circle Coaching Club. And he was asking about your calorie consumption, and he wanted to know, should you be consuming fewer calories on your rest days compared to your workout days? And there's different opinions on this one. Some people say you should be eating more on a workout day because you're burning more calories, which makes sense. And you should be eating less on a rest day because you're obviously not burning as many calories. But the thing that you really need to look at is the individual days. It doesn't really have that big of an impact on your overall progress. I mean, one high calorie day or one low calorie day isn't going to make or break your progress. It's the average over the long term. That's what matters the most, especially if you're trying to gain weight or lose weight. So simply having a high calorie day or a big meal or something like that, the one shot deal isn't going to make that big of have much of an impact in the short term. It's the long term average that matters the most. So if you're working out consistently, 4 or 5 days a week, and on those rest days you lower your calories a little bit, I mean, it's not that big a deal in the greater scheme of things. It's the overall average. But the way that I like to structure this myself is the only difference that I will have in my nutrition between a workout day and a rest day is whatever I have pre and post workout. So if you have like a post-workout shake, obviously you're not going to have that on the days that you don't work out. If you have any pre-workout, pre-workout meal or pre-workout supplements or something like that, then again, obviously you're not going to have those on the days that you don't work out. But all the other meals, I would keep them the same. That's the way I do it myself. I don't vary my meals based on a workout day or a rest day. The only thing that changes is pre and post-workout nutrition. Everything else would stay the same. And of course, that would vary depending on whether your goal is a mass building program, you want to gain muscular body weight, whether you're in a fat loss program, your goal is to lose body fat, or if you're in a maintenance program or whatever. I mean, all that's going, the specifics of the nutrition would vary depending on that. But again, I don't vary it based on a workout day. I just, keep it the same right through. All right, I'm going to move in now and answer some questions. We've got a lot of them coming through here. Okay, someone's asking, this is Subham says 100 grams of soybean chunks every day pre-workout. And then question mark. I'm assuming you're asking, should you eat 100 grams of soybean chunks? I'm not a big fan of soy protein myself. I know there's mixed reviews. Some people, there's schools of thought say that soy can lower testosterone, increase estrogen levels, has phytoestrogens in it. Some people say, you know, there's been studies shown that that may have a negative impact on your estrogen levels. There's been other studies show that has no impact. So when it comes to reading studies, you kind of have to take them all with a grain of salt, because the truth of the matter is you can manipulate a study to get different results depending on what it is your outcome is. But I'm not a big fan of soya as a protein source. Now, I mean, if you do get it occasionally, it's not a big deal, but I wouldn't have it as my primary source of protein. I would prefer other sources. But hey, I mean, if you're currently consuming, you know, soybean chunks and it's working for you, then, you know, who am I to debate that? I mean, if it's working for you, keep doing it. But again, I personally would look for other sources of protein myself. Okay, another question here. This one's from Mohammed, and he's saying, what are some of the best exercises for losing belly fat? The whole idea of losing fat, now, I know a lot of people refer to it as belly fat, but you have to realize when you lose fat, you lose it from all over, not just your belly. You can't spot reduce body fat. So, I mean, if you're going to lose fat, you're going to lose it from all over. And the main thing is, one, you have to be in a caloric deficit. So that's primary. I mean, if you want to, in order to tap into burning stored body fat for fuel, you have to have a caloric deficit so that your body can actually resort to the fat for energy. So you need to be burning off more calories than you consume, and that is the fundamentals of fat loss right there. And as far as the exercises are concerned, you need to increase your calorie expenditure in general. So cardiovascular exercise is great for doing that, but weight training exercise is great as well. And the thing about weight training is it's going to help to increase your lean muscle mass. And the more lean muscle mass you have, the more calories you're going to burn. And this means calorie expenditure 24/7. I mean, someone who has more muscle on their frame is going to burn more calories all day long, even while they're sleeping. So if you want to burn more body fat, then the best thing to do is to try and increase your lean muscle mass while simultaneously burning fat in the process. Because again, the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn. It's just going to help to improve your body composition. So what I generally recommend for people who are new to a fat loss program is I'll set them up on a weight training routine one day and then cardio the next. Weight training one day, cardio the next. And they alternate them back and forth. So it could be like a total body beginner's workout for weight training. You do that, say like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then on your days off from weight training, get outside and go for a walk. I mean, it sounds simple, and it is, but it's a great place to start for beginners. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of beginners make is they try to do too much too soon, or they overcomplicate the process. And by doing so, a lot of times you burn yourself out. You might end up getting injured, just a lot of unnecessary muscle soreness that you don't need at that, you know, initial stage. So keep it simple and just focus on being consistent with the basics. Consistency in the basics is going to move you in the right direction. So if you want a sample program that you can follow along with, I would recommend going to the main Total Fitness Bodybuilding channel page. And right there should be a link to a beginner's total body workout routine. And that would be a good place to start. Okay, let's move on. We've got Marie's joining us. Raj says, video is working fine. Thank you. Ahmed says, hi Lee, it's good to see you again. I've been out of the gym for a long time and I don't have the motivation or energy to get back in. I need to get back in. I've lost some mass and strength. Where do I start? Anytime you have a layoff from the gym, you have to resume training again, just like a beginner. So very similar to what I just mentioned before about starting off, you know, with the basic total body workout routine. That would be a good place to start if you're coming back to the gym after a layoff. Now, what you need to do is kind of get into the habit of going to the gym again. So don't try and compare, you know, your workouts now to your personal best workouts that you had before you had your layoff from the gym. Because obviously if you've been away from the gym for several weeks or several months or longer, then you've lost some strength, you've lost some muscle, and you're not going to be able to lift the same weight or complete the same, you know, volume of training as you did before you took your layoff. So don't get into that comparison and get frustrated by like, oh, I could lift this much, you know, back in the day and now I can't lift that much. You know, just kind of forget that and just go through the motions. Get into the habit of just showing up to the gym, going through your routine, and getting in that consistent pattern. And what I very often recommend is, again, every other day, a 3-day per week program usually works really well for beginners. And get in that consistent habit. Again, master the basics. Consistency with the basics is what's going to move you in the right direction. The good news is it's easier and faster to regain lost muscle than it is to gain muscle in the first place. So you will notice that your progress will come back at a faster rate. Like your gains will come back faster the second time around than it took you to gain them the first time. So that's due to muscle memory. It's easier to regain lost muscle than it is to gain muscle initially. So that is should be somewhat motivating, meaning that if you stick with your routine, you're going to get your size and strength back a lot quicker the second time around. And once you start seeing your body change and you actually see some results from your efforts, that's going to help to skyrocket your motivation and just make the whole process more enjoyable. But it's that initial phase where you're going into the gym and you're weaker and you're smaller, and it's just kind of, you got to use willpower to get that momentum, to get the ball rolling. But once it is moving, once the ball is rolling and you do start to build a little bit of momentum and start to see some progress, then you'll find that your motivation is just going to start to spiral. You can have an upward spiral or a negative spiral. We're trying to generate an upward one, so to keep you consistent moving forwards. So again, when you're coming back after a layoff, start back just like a beginner. Okay, another question here. We have Johan's joining us. Can Bulgarian split squat replace regular squat for size, strength, and power? If for some reason you don't like doing regular squats, I mean, you can certainly do split squats. Some people refer to those as bench lunges. That's what I usually do, because it's basically doing a lunge with your back leg elevated on a bench. It's not the exact same exercise. I mean, a squat is a big, heavy exercise. You can handle a lot of weight with a squat. You're not going to handle nearly as much weight with a split squat. So from that point of view, no, I mean, it's not going to be the same for size and power. But as far as developing your legs, improving your functional strength and all that kind of stuff, it is a great exercise. It's great for athletes, because when you're doing split squats, you're working each leg independently. It's good for building the stabilizer muscles and balance and coordination, and you work through a greater range of motion. So there's a lot of benefits to doing a split squat. And I mean, it's definitely a great leg exercise. But is it an equal replacement for a regular squat? I mean, no, because they're two totally different exercises. It's almost like saying, hey, is a pec deck fly as good as a bench press? I mean, yes, both of them work the chest, but they're different exercises. It's kind of like comparing an apple and an orange. You're comparing two different things. So I'm not going to say it's an equal replacement, but it is still a darn good exercise, and you can certainly include it in your workouts. Okay, Bradley's joining us. He says, hello, my friend. I have a major pec imbalance. My right is a lot smaller than my left, and I am right-handed. That is something, a lot of it just simply has to do with genetics. For whatever reason, your chest probably doesn't develop balance and equally. I mean, maybe you have more muscle fibers in one pec than another. Maybe there's just the way that the muscles attach to the tendons and the ligaments and everything else. It could be just different from one side to the other. I know some people, have different types of like a chest gap as well. Sometimes you might have one chest that's fuller, the other one might have a bit of a gap in it. A lot of times, again, it's genetics, and there's really nothing we can do other than make the best of the situation. Do the best you can with what you have. Now, obviously, you can take some action and precautions by purposely trying to include exercises in your workouts where you're doing each side independently, such as like dumbbell exercises instead of barbell exercises, or various single limb machines, exercises that work each side independently, such as like the hammer strength bench press, cable crossover. Again, I mentioned dumbbell presses, dumbbell flies, things like that will certainly help, but you may never fully balance out the left and right sides. I mean, that's probably something that you'll always have forever. And it's very common. I mean, if you actually look at some of the world's top bodybuilders and look at their physiques critically, because I mean, we're our own worst critic. I mean, you're looking at your own physique with the most critical eyes possible. But if you actually look at someone else's physique with those same critical eyes, you'll see that a lot of people have imbalances. I mean, a prime example, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you look at his front double bicep, his right arm is way more muscular and peaked than his left arm. You look at former Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler. He had one side of his body bigger than the other. One arm, one leg was noticeably bigger than the other side. And a lot of top pro bodybuilders are like this. If you look at them and compare, especially when they're doing poses where they're straight on, like a front double bicep or maybe a lat spread or something, where you can get that silhouette of the physique and see the right and left sides equally. A lot of them have muscle imbalances, and you know, there's really not much you can do about it. You can take precautions in your training, but again, you may never fully balance it out. So a lot of it is just kind of accept it and move on and do the best you can. In my case, I have muscle imbalances. Like one leg is bigger than the other, and I've had some imbalances due to injuries as well. I mean, back in the day, I tore my left bicep pretty bad, and now my left bicep is shorter than my right bicep. I mean, you know, there's really nothing I can do about it. You just kind of live with it and move on and do the best you can. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we got people joining us. We got Ali's joining us. Alex is here. Buff Canuck 83. Marie from Jamaica. Oscar from Colombia. Oh, we got an international audience joining us. Sir Games a lot. Sir Games a lot all day. That's his username. He says, how many months to stay on one routine to avoid a plateau? All right, that is a good question, and it's really, it's not a one size fits answer, because when it comes to how your body responds to a workout, that's going to vary on a lot of different variables. I mean, and your level of experience is a big one, and just your individual genetics. I mean, generally speaking, someone who is new to training will probably be able to stay on a program longer and make progress from it for longer than someone who is more advanced. Because when you're new, there's a lot of things your body has to adapt to. I mean, first of all, you have to learn and adapt to the exercises, then you have to learn and adapt to the specific stimulus that routine is providing you, you know, be it the set and rep pattern, the workloads, you know, the rest intervals, or whatever the unique factors are in this particular program you're following. Your body has to adapt to all that. As you become more advanced and your body is adapted to the exercises, then it's just basically the different variables within the program that you have to adapt to. So generally speaking, the more advanced you are, the faster you're going to adapt to a program and the faster you're going to plateau. So a lot of times you'll see like a beginner may stick with a program for 3 months before they hit a plateau. Someone who's more advanced may only stick to a program for 1 or 2 months before they hit a plateau. And again, that can vary from individual to individual. I mean, I've seen some people will hit a plateau after a few weeks. Some others may be able to stick with it for 6 weeks. A general rule of thumb, I think, like if you're kind of looking for like a ballpark answer for the majority of people, I would recommend sticking to a set program for at least 6 weeks before you move on to something else. That would kind of be a good round, generic answer that would work for some people, or for the majority of people, I should say. For example, like in the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Inner Circle, we have a workout of the month program where every month I provide a new workout routine. But even though we're providing new workouts every month, that doesn't mean I recommend people to just automatically at the end of the month ditch their current program and jump on the bandwagon for the new one. You really need to monitor your own individual progress and adjust your program according to that. So if you're still making progress with your current routine, then don't stop it because the month is up or anything like that. You milk that program for what it's worth. As long as you're making progress, and it doesn't have to be big progress. I mean, in fact, when you actually look at progress in the gym, it's never big progress. It's all just little tiny bits of progress added up over time. But if you're making progress, seeing strength gains, seeing any noticeable improvements whatsoever, then you stick to that program until that progress comes to a halt, meaning you're not making strength gains, or worse, you're actually losing strength, And if that happens, then it's time to change things up and move on and do something different. Okay, let's move on. Quick sip of coffee here. All right, we got Mick joining us. What's your opinion on intermittent fasting? This is interesting. I've had different opinions throughout the years of intermittent fasting. I mean, back in the old days of my bodybuilding journey, I wasn't a big fan of intermittent fasting. I was old school, bodybuilding bro, where I eat 6 meals a day, and I thought that was the best way to go. The small frequent meals, and that worked for me. Back in my early days when my main goal was building mass, eating small frequent meals throughout the day worked really well for me. And if someone's goal is to gain muscular body weight, bulk up, I would still recommend frequent meals throughout the day. The more frequently you can eat, the more food you can consume and stay in a caloric surplus, the better it's going to be for building mass. However, as your body changes, as your fitness goals change, then that's not always the best way to go. For people who are primarily interested in losing body fat, or even for people who are interested in maintaining, you're not necessarily trying to get bigger, but at the same time, you don't want to get fat or anything else. You just kind of want to maintain or to improve your body composition at the same body weight, then intermittent fasting can be a very valuable tool. And the thing that I like about it is it's very flexible. It's one of the easiest diet plans that you will ever follow. And right now, I'm currently following an intermittent fasting program. And I have been doing so for the better part of a year, for almost all of 2017. Actually, I would say all of 2017. I've been following intermittent fasting, and I really enjoy it. It just takes the stress out of dieting, because I get up in the morning, grab myself a cup of coffee, something like that, and that curbs my appetite. And of course, I drink a lot of water throughout the day too, which helps to curb the appetite, and just focus on whatever I have to do that day, be it work, chores, running errands, all that kind of stuff. I just keep myself busy all day long, and I don't need to worry about food. I just, keep myself hydrated and do whatever I have to do. And I find once you get yourself used to it, you're not hungry throughout the day. I mean, I'm not. I can go all day without food and I feel fine. I feel, energetic. I feel sharp mentally and physically, and I can just get my stuff done. And then in the evening, when I want to kind of relax with the family and unwind, that's when I'll eat. So I'll have usually my first meal of the day is dinner. And the time varies. I mean, I have a lot of flexibility with it because I'm not, training for like a bodybuilding competition, or I don't have any strict goals where, okay, I've got to get below 10% body fat by, this date, like you do for a competition or anything. I just want to, be healthy and in good general overall shape year round. I mean, I'm not trying to peak for a competition or anything like that. So I'm very flexible with it. I mean, some days I may only do a 12-hour fast. I mean, other days I might do a 20-hour fast. I mean, it all depends on my schedule and everything else. But I really enjoy the freedom that it allows. And I've lost body fat without really trying to, without feeling like I'm dieting. So I'm not going hungry. I'm not going deprived. And I'm not really strict on counting calories or macros or anything like that. I just kind of like as healthy as I can, but I'm not structured like where I'm writing everything down and counting every calorie that goes in my mouth. I just basically, when I sit down to eat, I eat until I'm comfortably full, and then I leave the table. Boom. Simple as that. I'm not worried about if I have to go back for second helpings because I'm still hungry or whatever. I mean, if I'm still hungry, I'll eat more. Simple as that. But I found that through intermittent fasting, I've been able to maintain, my body fat, and it's a lot more freedom and flexibility, and I feel better because of it. So, I mean, it's a good for a lifestyle type of diet for someone who's not trying to gain weight. I mean, if your goal is to gain weight, intermittent fasting is not the way to do it, because, you're not going to get enough food in your system to be in a caloric surplus if you have such a small window for eating. So that's where I'd recommend the old school bodybuilding, multiple meals per day in order to bump up your calories. But for people who are training for fat loss or for just maintenance and general health, I think it's certainly something you want to look into. All right, let's move on. Soham is joining us, and he says, for a certain job, I have to do 50 push-ups at a stretch. I can do around 22 right now. Do you have any advice on how to increase my push-up numbers? It's so ironic that you posted that question, because I had someone post that same question not too long ago. Well, maybe several months ago, whatever. But I made a YouTube video explaining how to do 50 push-ups in a row, and that was the exact same question. They had to do 50 push-ups for whatever job they were doing, and I made a video. So if you go to YouTube and just type in Lee Hayward 50 push-ups, you should find that video. I mean, those should come up there in the YouTube search, and I go over a specific training schedule that you can follow to work on progressively increasing your push-up volume and build yourself up to doing 50 plus push-ups in a row. So again, just go to YouTube, search for Lee Hayward 50 push-ups, and I'm positive you'll find that video. Okay, what else we got? Another question here. This one's from Rohit. Again, if I'm mispronouncing some of these names, I do apologize. I don't mean to. It's just a lot of these names I'm not familiar with, so I'm reading them out for the first time. Question here saying, I find squats very difficult to perform. Can you give me an alternative workout that is as effective as squats? If your goal is just general health and fitness, which it is for like 99% of the people that go to the gym. I mean, most people that work out are not competitive power lifters, they're not competitive weightlifters, they're not competitive bodybuilders, or even competitive athletes. I mean, most people who go to the gym are just there to build muscle, lose fat, get in shape, feel better, look better, live better. You know, that's basically it. And that's the category that I'm in right now. I mean, I'm not competing in bodybuilding, at least not now. I'm not saying that I never will again, but at the moment I'm not. So I'm just in that, look better, feel better, live a healthier lifestyle type of category right now. If that's where you are, you don't have to do squats. Like, there's no rule saying thou must do squats on leg day. If you don't like squats, they don't work well for your body type, you find them difficult or uncomfortable or whatever, you don't have to do them. You can still develop your legs with other leg exercises. I mean, I know a lot of people, I know competitive bodybuilders who have built muscular legs and never squat. They'll do leg press, they'll do leg extensions and leg curls and lunges and step-ups and different leg exercise variations and still get good results. So if you don't like squats, you don't have to do them. And that pretty much applies to any exercise. I mean, same with chest. Like, let's say you don't like doing bench press for whatever reason. You don't have to bench press. There are a lot of other chest exercises you can do. The same with your back. If for some reason you can't do deadlifts, either it places too much strain on your back, or you just find that the exercise doesn't work well with your body type, you don't have to do deadlifts. You can do other various back exercises, from rows and pull-ups and pull-downs and whatever. There's a lot of different exercise variations out there, and that's the good thing about training in, a modern gym, is that we have such a wide variety of equipment, such a wide variety of exercises, that if a particular move doesn't feel good, then don't do it. Find another move to do instead. So in your case, if you don't want to do squats, I would recommend things like leg press would be a good exercise, lunges, step-ups. You could experiment with split squats, things like that. Any of those variations will be acceptable to help develop your legs. And of course, isolation moves like leg extensions and leg curls, stiff leg deadlifts. Those are all great exercises to develop your legs without having to squat. You could also try body weight squats. One thing that I often like to do is sometimes I'll go through, like leg presses, leg extensions, leg curls, and things like that. And then at the end, finish off with some high repetition body weight squats. And I mean, it doesn't have the same stress of having a loaded barbell across your back, but you'll get a great pump in your legs just from doing the high volume body weight squats when your legs are already pre-exhausted from the machine exercises that you did earlier. So that's another, option that you might want to try. But again, don't get hung up. If you can't squat, no big deal. You can work around it and still make progress. Alex is joining us, and he says, if I'm not meant to hear it, I guess I'm not meant to hear it. Okay, I guess he was talking about when I asked earlier if I was coming through loud and clear. Okay, second now. My screen just froze. Where are we? Okay, there we go. All right, Danny is joining us, and he says, Lee, is there anything I should be aware of food-wise when I'm doing your 12-week workout program? I'm a guy with high fat burning, so I've always been a slim guy. So you have a high metabolism, fast metabolism. What I would recommend for someone who is naturally a slim person, you know, we refer to that as an ectomorph body type. You're naturally lean and struggle with gaining weight. Frequent meals. More frequently you can eat, generally the easier you'll be with gaining body weight. So that's where the old school bodybuilding diet plan, you know, the 6 meals a day type thing, that's where that really can come into play, is for people who are naturally slender and struggle with gaining weight. It's easier to consume more calories if you have multiple small meals per day rather than trying to jam in more food per meal. I mean, if you were sticking with, say, like the traditional 3 meals a day, you can only eat so much food when you sit down to a meal before your belly gets full, right? You only have so much of an appetite. But if you all of a sudden increase the frequency of your meals, and now you're not just eating 3 a day, you're eating, you know, 4, 5, or 6 meals a day, some cases even more, then that just increases your potential for getting more calories in your system from which you can grow from. Calories that are going to put you in a caloric surplus and provide the raw materials your body needs for growth. So that's what I would recommend. Frequent with the meals. And there's a lot of ways to go about that. I mean, you could have like the traditional 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then probably have like a protein shake in between each meal. That's a simple solution that works for a lot of people. But make sure that you are getting a caloric surplus, especially if your goal is to gain muscular body weight. And how you can tell if you're in a caloric surplus is just by monitoring your progress. I mean, ideally, you want to try and strive to gain about 1 pound per week. Now, it's not always going to work out that way. You know, some weeks you may not gain any weight, other weeks you may gain a couple pounds, but on average, over the long term, try and gain about 1 pound per week. That would be a good benchmark to shoot for. And as long as you're doing that, then you know you're in a caloric surplus and you're moving yourself in the right direction. If you're not gaining that, then reevaluate your diet and look for ways that you can bump up your caloric intake and help to put yourself into that caloric surplus to grow from. To help you with your nutrition program, I have a guide right on my website. It's called Bodybuilding Nutrition Made Simple, and it covers the fundamentals of proper nutrition, how to select your food choices and plan out your meals and all that. You can just head on over to my website at leehayward.com, and there in the side menu bar, you'll see a link to it. It's Bodybuilding Nutrition Made Simple. It's a free PDF report. You can just download it, and that would be a good guideline to follow to help you plan out your nutrition program. And again, it will be a great complement to the 12-week workout program that you're following. All right, let's see what else. William is joining us, saying, should I focus on training upper body, should I focus on training upper, outer, and middle chest independently, or compound for growth? When it comes to training your chest, just think about training your chest. I mean, I don't really break it down and think, okay, I'm going to train upper chest, I'm going to train middle chest, outer chest, lower chest. Just, your chest is basically just one big fan-shaped muscle. If you look at it on an anatomy chart, like if, for example, if you do a flat bench press, that's not just working the middle of the chest. That's actually working your overall chest. I mean, I know you can kind of emphasize a bit more of the upper pec if you do work like on an incline bench versus on a flat bench. But anytime you train your chest, you are working the entire chest muscle. And that's what I really focus on. Just think of getting bigger and stronger all over rather than trying to nitpick and think that I'm going to do, this exercise is for the upper, this one's for the outer, this one's for the inner. Just focus on getting a bigger chest in general. What I would recommend if you're looking for, I guess a basic template of training to follow, one of my favorite styles is positions of flexion. And that means that you're going to work each muscle group through the full range of motion, meaning mid-range, fully stretched, and peak contraction. So in the case of chest, a bench press variation, could be a flat bench, dumbbell bench, incline bench, really doesn't matter, but some sort of press is going to be a mid-range compound exercise. Then you would do a stretch exercise, some sort of fly. Again, it could be a flat fly, incline fly, decline fly, really doesn't matter. But you're going to do some sort of dumbbell fly where the majority of the stress on the chest is in the fully stretched position. And then you would finish that off with a peak contraction exercise, something like a pec deck or a cable crossover, where the majority of the tension is at the top, where you actually have to fight to hold the handles together. And if you do that, positions of flexion, mid-range, fully stretched, peak contraction, you're going to hit all the major areas of your chest for complete development. And in fact, if you go to my YouTube channel and open up the playlists, I believe, I can actually double check here now, but I believe there's a full positions of flexion playlist right there now on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. I'm just going to double check myself before I send you there, because I don't want to send you over to the YouTube channel and you say, wait a minute, it's not there. All right, so if you go to playlists, where's it to? Yeah, right in the middle of the page. It's called Positions of Flexion Workout, and it's there. And there's workouts for all major muscle groups, and chest is one of them. I believe chest is actually the first one. So again, you can follow that as a good template for structuring your workouts. All right, let's move on. Okay, Praveen is joining us. He says, I gain weight on the upper body, how to lose? I think you meant how to lose body fat. Actually, earlier in the video chat, I kind of went over a basic plan for how to lose body fat. But if you want, again, I would definitely recommend head on over to my website, leehayward.com, and there's a program there called the 3 Keys to Building Muscle, and that actually covers a full training template. It applies to building muscle, but it also applies to burning body fat as well. But it will give you a good structured program for both training, nutrition, as well as mindset that you can apply. So again, just head on over to leehayward.com and download the 3 Keys to Building Muscle. Again, it's a free PDF report, and it covers a complete training and nutrition program that you can follow. Someone else joining us, we have the Force Miner saying it's pretty nice here in Newfoundland today, and it absolutely is. Obviously, you're a local person, and it is absolutely beautiful. My wife and son and I were out for a walk before we went on this video chat, and it's almost like a summer's day. That's how nice it is, and here we are into the fall already, but we're having a fantastic fall. Really enjoying the weather. And that is my favorite form of cardio, by the way. I mean, getting outside, be it walking, hiking, bike riding, something like that. I mean, I know a lot of people say they hate cardio. And if your definition of cardio is spinning your wheels on a treadmill or an exercise bikes in a sweaty old gym, then yeah, I can understand how you hate cardio. But if you can get outside and walk along some, nice hiking trails, get outside in nature, it's absolutely beautiful and enjoyable. So that's my favorite way to get cardio, is to get outside and do it. All right, another question here. Let's see. This one's from Swires86, and he says, I was doing deadlifts today, 315 for 5, and on the third set, I lost my balance a bit and felt my lower back for the first time. Not even a pain, more like an itch. Is this just normal, unavoidable in the progress? Obviously, you must have. I mean, you said you lost your balance, so you probably, you pulled something, twisted something. You could have pinched a nerve. I mean, who knows? The thing is, a lot of times when you hurt yourself in the gym, especially if it's only like a minor injury, like a muscle pull or a strain or something like that, you're probably not going to notice it much right after you did it. So like say you did the deadlifts today, you may have a little bit of a twinge or something in your back there now, but tomorrow you might feel more pain, and then probably the next day even more pain. And if that's the case, obviously you just want to kind of rest and take it easy. If it's very serious, like if there's any bruising or discoloring or anything like that, which would be a sign from like you may have torn something, like torn a muscle, then you definitely should get it checked out. But more often than not, it's just going to be some sort of, you pulled or strained something. And when you rest and let it recover, it generally gets better with time. I mean, I think everybody at some point or another, especially if you've been lifting for any length of time, has pulled a muscle, you know, strained something, pulled something, whatever. And again, most times you rest up for a week or two and it heals up on its own. That's usually all there is to it. Sometimes it's more serious than that, especially if it's like a tear or something along those lines, and it may need more, you know, a more detailed rehab program. Sometimes, you know, you actually need to go and get treatment from the doctor and stuff like that, depending on what kind of injury you have. But for now, I mean, if you're able to move and maneuver fine, your back just feels a bit tight or stiff, then again, you probably just pulled something in your back, and hopefully within, you know, a week or so, you should be feeling better. In the meantime, I would not do anything that's going to place strain on your back. So no squats, no overhead presses, no rows, anything like that that's going to place direct strain on your lower back. If you're going to do other exercises, do like machine exercises, movements where you're seated and you're not directly placing strain on your back, and try and work around that over the next week or so until your back is feeling better. And then when you do go back to doing deadlifts, purposely start off really light and make sure that everything feels good. You know, do really light warm-up sets and do multiple progressively heavier warm-up sets when you do get back to doing deadlifts, you know, in a week or two down the road. And make sure that you feel good before you push yourself. I mean, if you're warming up, you say like you're doing 135, that feels good, and then probably get up to 225, and oh man, 225 starting to feel a bit weird in the back. If you feel anything that doesn't feel normal, then that's a cue that you're not fully recovered, and I would not push it. Because what often happens for a lot of people is you may do something stupid like you did with your deadlifts. You lost your balance, your form got screwed up, and you just have a little minor twinge in your back. And then you keep training after that, and it's very often the first little injury is just a minor one, but you keep training and pushing yourself full speed ahead, and then that little minor injury becomes a major injury because you can't handle the same weight while your body is recovering. So a lot of times, you know, some people will do something stupid, just a minor pull, and then they keep training, keep pushing, and then that little minor pull becomes a full-blown muscle tear, or, you know, you, as they say, you snap your shit up. And you don't want to do that. So again, err on the side of caution. Make sure that you're fully rested up and recovered before you start pushing it heavy again. And, you know, just be smart about it. I mean, what you're going to find as you get more advanced in bodybuilding and weight training is injury prevention is the key to progress. You know, that's the one thing that will slow your progress. I mean, with your training and nutrition, you know, if you skip a workout, big deal. It's not going to slow your progress. If you skip a meal or have a cheat day or something like that, in the greater scheme of things, it's not going to slow your progress. If you get hurt, boom, that instantly slows your progress. You know, the one thing that's going to slow you down more than anything is an injury. So the more experience you get, the more susceptible you are to getting injured, and the more you realize injury prevention is the key to long-term progress. All right, let's move on. We have Mr. Tick Kickin'. I need to increase my grip strength in my deadlifts. Anything over 350, I need straps. That's pretty normal. I mean, 350 pounds in the greater scheme of things is a lot of weight. I know when you're looking at like world-class lifters and stuff like that, 350 not a lot of weight, but for the average human being who's in the gym, 350 pounds is a lot of weight. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you struggle to lift that without straps. Some things that you can do in the short term: lifting chalk. If you are not currently using lifting chalk, it can make a huge difference to your grip strength. When I started training, I mean, I knew of lifting chalk and I used to see people using it, but I never thought it made that big of a difference. And then I can remember the first time I actually tried it, and I was like, holy shit, this stuff actually works. It's just like instant grip that you have, because the chalk will dry up sweat, so you don't have that sweaty, clammy feeling in your hands, and it will increase friction between your skin and the barbell or the dumbbell or whatever it is you're holding. So lifting chalk will instantly improve your grip strength on whatever exercise you're doing. So if you're not using it, that's one thing I would recommend. And as far as actually developing your grip strength, Heavy Grips hand grippers is one of the best tools that I've used and I recommend. And again, you can just go to my website and check them out, leehayward.com. There's a link there to the Heavy Grips hand grippers. But they are one of the best tools that I've ever used for increasing my hand strength. And they also help to increase your forearm size as well, because when you strengthen your grip, I mean, it's all the muscles in the forearms that are coming into play. I mean, there's very little muscle in your hands. I mean, it's mostly just like tendons and connective tissue and stuff like that. So when you increase your hand strength, it's actually your forearm muscles is what's getting stronger. So I found that when I started using Heavy Grips hand grippers, my forearms got bigger, and like literally within 3 months of training Heavy Grippers, I added a full inch to my forearms, you know, and that was the only direct forearm exercise that I was doing, was the gripper training. So again, if you want to beef up your forearms, hand grippers is a great tool to use for that as well. So that's what I would recommend there. Heavy Grips hand grippers and lifting chalk. All right, let's see what else. Jonas is joining us. Says, I always eat right before training and directly after training, and I do not take protein shakes. Should I take protein shakes? You don't have to. I mean, a protein shake, more or less, all it is, it's a form of liquid protein. I mean, it can to help you to consume and meet your protein intake needs. But if you're getting enough protein through solid food, then you really don't need to have shakes. I like to have protein shakes for convenience, and a lot of times I will have shakes as an alternative source of protein. For example, I might mix up a blender smoothie and put some protein powder in it, or I might make up like a bowl of oatmeal and put some protein powder in it. So I mean, you're getting some different variety in your foods that way. But as far as like, do you have to take a protein shake? No, you can still make a lot of progress. You can build muscle, burn fat, and all that just through solid food. The protein shake, that is, it's just a convenient source of protein. It's not necessary by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's not required. So if you feel that you're getting enough protein through your diet and you're enjoying it, hey, keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to have protein shakes to make progress. Oscar's asking, how do you get rid of fat in the lower back? The same way you get rid of fat anywhere. I know the lower back can be a stubborn area for a lot of guys. Like that whole spare tire area, that's where a lot of guys struggle, around the belly. But the lower back is very often just as bad. I mean, a lot of people don't really focus on it as much because obviously when you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't see your back. But, if you can pinch an inch in the front and reach around the back, and, you'll probably be able to pinch an inch down there or several inches. Bottom line, when it comes to losing fat, the same principles as losing fat anywhere. You be in a caloric deficit, burn off more calories than you consume, cardio, weight training, diet, all the fundamentals there. But assuming you have all that in place, you're already following a low-calorie fat loss diet, you're already doing regular cardio, you're already consistent with your weight training program. Some advanced strategies that can help is to actually do extra exercise for your stubborn areas. And I know this kind of sounds like spot reduction, but it's not really spot reduction in the true sense, because it only works when you're already in a fat loss mode. And I'll kind of give you an example here what I mean. Like a lot of times when I'm coaching people for bodybuilding and physique competitions, you'll probably have people with stubborn body parts. And I'll use women as an example. A lot of women, they get very lean and ripped in their upper body, and they struggle with losing fat in their lower body. I mean, a lot of female bodybuilders and figure competitors and stuff like that, it's almost like you have two different body types connected at the waist. Ripped, they could have six-pack abs and striations from the waist up, and they could have loose skin and cellulite from the waist down. And I'm not joking. I've literally seen that. So you can, like, you got two different bodies connected at the waist. So obviously they are following a fat loss diet. They're doing their cardio, their weight training in order to get ripped up top, but they just have that stubborn area down the bottom. And what I very often recommend for people in that situation is to increase the frequency of their workouts for their stubborn area and increase the volume. So it's almost like purposely overtraining that area to increase metabolic activity to help encourage more fat loss in the stubborn area. You can take that same principle and apply it to your lower back. And how you would do it is you would purposely increase the volume of training you do for your lower back. And one of the best exercises for that is the hyperextension. You know, chances are you probably have one at your gym, either the horizontal hyperextension or the one that's a 45-degree angle hyperextension. Either one is totally fine. But what I would recommend is every single workout, shoot for 100 total reps of hyperextensions. Now, obviously, if you're not used to the exercise, you can start off small and build up to that over the course of several weeks. But start doing hyperextensions or doing more of them if you're already doing them. And this is something that I would do myself back when I was getting ready for bodybuilding competitions, because again, the lower back, and not only the lower back, but the glutes and the hamstrings, and the hyperextension actually works all those, the whole complex, lower back, glutes, and hamstrings. I would do 100 total hyperextensions every single workout. And I found that that really helped to tighten up the lower back, to help bring in that Christmas tree, as they call it, in the lower back. And it helped to tighten up my glutes and hamstrings before competition. And I would do that for like at least 3 months prior to the show, every single workout, 100 total reps. And how I would do that is I'd probably, like, 4 sets of 25, 5 sets of 20, or whatever. I mean, basically do as many sets and reps as it took until I completed 100 total reps of hyperextensions. And again, I found that doing that over and over again, every single workout, it really helped to tighten up those stubborn areas. And that's something that you can do for yourself if you have a stubborn area. But again, it's only going to work if you're already doing all the basics, meaning that you have your diet in check, you have your training in check, your cardio's in check. All the fundamentals are already in place. I mean, if you take someone who's fat, eating whatever they want, not doing any exercise, and then they try and lose their belly by doing sit-ups every day, it's not going to work, right? But if they have everything else in place and then they increase the volume of their ab training, for example, then yeah, that can help to carry over into tightening up your abs. And that's where a lot of the misconception about spot reduction comes into play. I mean, like a lot of the old school bodybuilders back in the day, they used to do like a shit ton of ab work. I mean, very often they would train abs every single day, and very often high reps into the hundreds of reps for abdominal work. And you look at the abs of a lot of the old school bodybuilders, I mean, the guys had phenomenal abs, and obviously, the volume of ab training that they did certainly helped to contribute to that. So it's the same principle. I mean, it sounds a lot like spot reduction in the short term, but obviously when you actually look at it from a broader perspective, you realize it's not, but you're just trying to increase metabolic activity in your stubborn body parts to help speed up fat loss in those areas. All right, let's move on. What else have we got? This one's from Andrew, and he's saying, Lee, how often would you recommend a guy in his mid-40s to train each body part? That really depends on your individual fitness level, your work capacity, and what type of training you are doing. I mean, that will vary, but a good rule of thumb, I would recommend train each major body part once a week. That should work for most people. And then, do that initially and see how your body responds. If you find that you're making progress by training each body part once a week, then keep doing it. If you feel that it's not enough, then you can always increase the frequency. And what I often recommend to a lot of people is to have that basic template of training each major body part once a week. And then if you have any stubborn body parts, like that you want to bring up, then you could probably train those twice a week. So like, for example, let's say you're a guy with very small calves. I mean, that's a common problem that a lot of people have. So maybe you want to train all your major body parts once a week, but you're going to train your calves 2 or 3 times a week to help, provide some extra muscle stimulation for that stubborn area. Or maybe it's your shoulders. You want to build up your shoulders more. You train all your other body parts once a week, but you're going to train your shoulders twice a week. So you can kind of play around with it. There's no real right or wrong answer, and it's something that you can experiment with and customize based on your individual goals and your schedule and everything else. But that's, again, what I would kind of steer you in that direction as far as where to get started. All right, here's another good question. This one's from Kevin, and he's saying, Lee, have you ever lost motivation on your total fitness journey, and how did you regain motivation? Was it for health reasons or personal goals like competition? Yeah, I have. I've been through ups and downs in motivation. I've gone through phases where, not that I've quit working out, but I've gotten pretty damn lazy and slack. All right, I've gone through those phases. And, everybody's going to go through ups and downs, for whatever reason. It could be, family issues. It could be, work, stress. It could be just getting bored of whatever it is you're doing. There's a lot of reasons why people go through ups and downs. And I've certainly gone through my ups and downs. I haven't always been 100% motivated and gung-ho to be train. But as far as how to regain the motivation, you really have to kind of get creative sometimes and look for, I guess, what it is that you ultimately want, and to help rekindle that motivation again. For me, especially in my early days, it was bodybuilding competitions. That was a big motivating factor for me. I obviously wanted to do well in competition, and training to improve for competition was a big motivating factor. But throughout the years, I've taken some time off competition. Like, I remember back when I was in my teenage years, I started competing back when I was 17 years old. So I did several shows in a row, and then I went to college. And my first semester in college, I competed in a bodybuilding show, and that was the worst semester I did, because I was so focused on the bodybuilding show that my studies suffered. And anybody who's ever done a bodybuilding show before knows that it's hard to maintain focus in other areas if you are 100% committed to getting ready for a competition. When you're following a low calorie diet, you're doing cardio, you're doing weight training, and you just have that tunnel focus on the competition, other things kind of get put on the back burner. And that happened to me with my studies. So that was the worst semester that I had in college, and it should have been the easiest one because it was the first one. And so after that, I took a break from competition and just focused on my studies. And in doing so, my fitness kind of backtracked. I ended up gaining a lot of extra weight that I didn't want to. And, I just got a bit fat and lazy throughout college because of that. And then I had to rekindle the motivation again. So what I actually did is I purposely, right after college, decided to go compete again. And that was my motivating factor to get back in shape. But there's other things that you can do. I mean, if you're getting bored with, say, weight training, then you can look to other types of sports and activities to help rekindle your motivation. Back in the mid-2000s, I went through a phase where I was kind of getting a bit bored with bodybuilding, and I wanted to try something different. And this was around the time when MMA started to get more popular. And I mean, it was always, starting from the very first, UFC and stuff like that. I mean, it was growing in popularity, but around the mid-2000s, it kind of really started to take off with the UFC and stuff. And I mean, obviously I was interested in that. So I decided to, scrap bodybuilding training for a while, and I took up MMA training. So I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I was doing some boxing and some MMA training. Now, I'd never, gotten in the ring or anything like that, but I was doing the workouts and doing the training just for the fun of it. And that rekindled my motivation because it was something new and unique and different. So you can look for stuff like that. I mean, if you're getting bored of going to the gym and doing sets of 10 reps and blah, 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 I mean, try taking up another sport or activity that will help to rekindle your motivation for fitness, because it doesn't always have to be, bodybuilding. It can be other forms of exercise. As other things that I've done is, look for outside activities like mountain biking. If you're getting sick and tired of weight training, then focus on something like that. And that helps to rekindle your motivation and, just the whole health and fitness aspect of things. So, I mean, getting around people who are at a higher level than you and doing things that are, better than you, especially when it comes to fitness. That really helps to, you know, rekindle your motivation. I mean, if all your friends and family are like lazy and they don't work out and everything else, it's kind of hard to get motivated to work out when you're around people who don't work out. So if you can kind of increase your circle of friends to people who are actually, you know, physically active and are in better shape than you, that will help to pull you up to a higher level, versus if you're hanging around people who are fat, lazy, and out of shape, that kind of pulls you down. So that's another motivating factor, is trying to expand your circle of friends so that you're actually around people who are at a higher level than you fitness wise, so that they can help to motivate you and pull you up, rather than the opposite, have people pull you down. So, you know, I know that's kind of a big smorgasbord of topics and suggestions there, but again, hopefully that can help move you in the right direction. And just realize that it is normal to go through ups and downs. I mean, nobody's going to maintain motivation forever. You know, you're always going to have some ups and downs for whatever reason. But the good thing is, you can always pick up the pieces and start again, right? You can always start again, regardless of what happens. All right, we got a lot more questions coming through, and I would love to hang around and answer them, but man, we are already gone over an hour with this, so I'm going to get ready and clue it up. Thanks again for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And again, I apologize if you've posted a question already and I haven't gotten around to answering it. What I'm going to do is, from now on, I'm going to try and increase the frequency of these live video chats, because I really enjoy them, and I know most people who tune into them really enjoy them as well. So I'm going to increase the frequency of these, and I'll be alternating them from having a YouTube video chat like we're having right now, and having a Facebook video chat, because I've got, you know, pretty much an equal size following on both YouTube as well as Facebook. And you know, the platforms are a little different, so I want to kind of maximize both of them. So today we had a YouTube chat. Probably in a day or so, I'll be having a live Facebook chat, and I'll keep you updated and probably send out some emails, let you know. So if you haven't already done so, you can subscribe to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding email tips newsletter and keep up to date when I'm going to be hosting another live video chat. But so the next one will be a Facebook video chat, and again, we'll just go back and forth between a YouTube chat and a Facebook chat. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for your questions. I really do appreciate it. Have yourself a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you in my next video chat. Take care. Over and out.